Hiya, it's Deputy Prime Minister, proud Northerner, basic instinct enthusiast, and now fourth sexiest woman in the UK, Angela Rayner, and welcome to another no-brainer with Angela Rayner. Now, last week, as you know, I took PMQs, and I did say it would be Keir doing it this week, but I had forgotten that he was going to the NATO Summit 2025. So that means that I was doing PMQs again. And I have to say, I'm really getting used to it now. I took it in my stride in more ways than one, and we'll get to that in a minute. But the whole week has been very energetic and very positive for us Labours. The start of the week, Keir had a very special visitor to number 10, a Ukrainian lad who didn't try and set fire to his house, and that was of course the wonderful President Zelinsky. They embraced on the steps of number 10 for the cameras, and then they embraced once they got inside again, because they just get along so well, and they had a very wonderful productive meeting. And then of course they went off to the NATO summit, and they've been hobnobbing with loads of incredible world leaders, and it has been very successful. But of course the press have to nitpick at absolutely everything and speculate on where he was in that photograph. Why was he so far near the back? Why wasn't he up front near Trump? Excuse me, it was where he was most happiest, right behind President Zelinsky, and he's not interested in having to be front and centre of every photograph. So wind your necks in and mind your own business. Focus on the more important things discussed at these meetings, other than where our Keir stands to have his photo taken. Ridiculous. And yes, he did have a very productive meeting with President Trump. I think he just said hiya to him in the corridor, but he knew, they both knew, and everybody knows the power and the strength that Keir has on the world stage as a leader. When he put that post out on X that said very clearly that there needs to be a de-escalation in the Middle East, and then suddenly there was a ceasefire, that was no coincidence. That was the firm, harsh words of a strong leader that made people stop and think. So there you go. You can slag him off all you want, but it's just, I think, jealousy, to be perfectly honest with you. Now, I had my own battles to fight today in PMQs. I did, however, debut my new look. I got a pair of specs, and before anybody says it, this is legit. And yeah, I might have claimed it on my expenses, but it's all above board, and I have declared it. So I'm not interested in anyone nitpicking about things like that. But I needed a bit of a power stance to deal with the idiots across the dispatch box, because it's like a Tory revolving door at the moment. I don't know which Johnny come lately I'm going to get week in, week out with this lot. This week, it was Mel Stride, and he really thought he could get the better of me. But I had to just remind him several times about the 14 years of Tory failure, and that I wasn't interested in any of the nonsense he had to say. And he tried to insinuate that I was after the top job. I am not interested in the top. I don't want the job from Keir. He's doing very, very well by himself. He does not need to be switched around and have anyone else do his job for. He is doing so good. So they're just jealous of the progress of us Labours, because they didn't get nothing done when they were in charge. But you know, it's not just the Tories that you've got to put in the places. A PMQs isn't a PMQs without mentioning the member for Clacton, and reminding the world of how dangerous he is and what nonsense he speaks. Because somebody made a very valid point about what happened at Bryce Norton, which was absolutely disgusting, and the fact that Reform jumped all over it and made it into some misogynistic, absolute far-right adjacent rubbish, instead of the horror that it was, and just leave it at that. They couldn't just say this was an outrage and disgraceful. They had to really dig in the most misogynistic way, and it is absolutely pathetic. And we have to remind the world that they are Putin apologists. And I got so wound up at one point, I couldn't get the word authenticity out of my mouth. I tried, it just won't come out. And that is how much these idiots wind me up. And this is why we absolutely cannot afford to have Reform getting any more control in this country. That is the danger of this lot. Absolutely ridiculous. But you know what? It doesn't matter what they say or what anybody else says or does. Us Labours are going to continue to go from strength to strength. I'll see you again on another no-brainer with Angela Rayner.